he was 4
Our
hours.
producer is on vacation and out of town, so I'm trying to run it from my cell phone. We'll see if that works right
May
after
the
this.
odds be ever.
So I was sharing our show around like I always do, and Facebook restricted my account for an hour.
Will
and
just got put in jail.
I'm in Facebook jail
Facebook
until
jail.
till the end of the show.
Do you know a judge?
Good. Yeah, I do. All
Tell it
that
to the
applies.
Better
doesn't
call Saul.
it? He's the best.
Yeah, or the worst.
Love that
One of
guy.
the two.
One of the two. Okay.
Oh, our friend Emma's here today.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here, really.
We may be a little slow on the comment recognition today.
might be.
Because we don't have anybody monitoring that
Somebody
situation.
really should be monitoring us.
We might be slow on the
Need help.
everything. Who
Yeah,
knows?
for sure.
I'm excited to see Ballard. How long have you been back amongst people?
This is week 3. This is week 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you feel refreshed?
I feel very
Did you meet all of your goals?
most of them. Yeah.
Okay, so if you would like to share some of the refreshment with me, I'm still trying to become refreshed.
Sprinkle me with refreshment.
I still have beard goals. It's I don't know if we'll ever
I'm not
achieve
sure
those,
your soccer players will be like,
the soccer girls.
They won't know what to do with you.
The soccer girls all summer were like, "That's nasty, Ballard. You got to shave
Damn
that."
nasty.
Yeah, and the guys are just like, "You call that a beard?" You know.
I feel
So
like if you ever wanted to dress up like a count for Halloween, this would be the year to do it.
yeah.
Like
count.
you could like a.
You know,
I'm
1, 2,
thinking
3,
like a
4,
count,
5,
like Count
6.
Count
like
Dracula.
a vampire, like a his hair like really
yeah.
slick the hair.
I can slick it back. Yeah, it'd be pretty
Kinda
good like that.
Kind
Mhm.
of like point the
Yeah.
goatee.
Get some oil in there.
Yeah,
Point it.
and you'd be like, I am the count of. Blah, blah,
Lauren
blah.
is ready for
You know.
Halloween because she heard there's a cold front and
I did.
Tonight, right? It's today the last 100-degree day.
Putting a pumpkin
the
in my front
only
yard tonight.
100-degree day.
It's too hot.
No, it's awful.
The rent is too high.
It's called
It's too hot.
August
It is.
in Missouri.
We've been spoiled this summer, is what this
and
means.
it's
Yeah, it's
been
not bad.
fantastic.
We had a
Not
couple
bad.
hot spells, and we're all just up in arms about it.
My grass is dying and I am
Yeah.
happy.
Really?
Yeah, mine
Yeah.
too.
Wow. You guys mow too much.
I got some
No.
finicky grass on
No.
You probably water yours.
Not enough. That was my problem. I didn't stay on top of that.
Look, we just, on the farm, we just finished cutting all the hay for the first time. We're still working on the last batch today. And
The first cut?
the first cut.
Wow.
I mean, we were put behind because you could only put up hay for 2 days in a row there for a while
Yeah, it just
because
kept
of the
raining.
rains.
Yeah.
But it has kept raining, and like the concern has been, okay, the first stuff is growing again, and we're not done with the first stuff. What are we going to do? And they've got this really good patch for square bales, which we're working on today. It's a tradition to do square bales on the hottest day of the year. I mean, why would you do something,
Yeah, why would you? Yeah.
normal, like do it tomorrow? But anyway,
No, hottest day.
yeah, lots of
All in.
Everything's green. Everything's green. I don't know why you guys killing your grass.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I got some finicky grass on one side of my house.
I'm thinking about planting a weeping willow tree by my pond, Emma.
I think
Okay.
you should.
What time should I do that?
In the fall.
Oh, really?
Yep.
September? Yeah.
Yeah.
When? September?
September.
October.
I think you're supposed to.
Yeah,
plant those-
September would be good, especially. So my farmer sense tells me that we're kind of in for an early season. Everything.
Interesting.
I mean, have you not noticed? Did we not talk about
What's
this?
up with
The
these
flower, the floor. I know, right?
Sumacs
the
are red.
sumacs have already turned. I've seen colored maples. All the blooming flowers were 4 weeks ahead. You know the naked ladies?
Oh, I know the naked ladies.
The tall.
Oh, we're still talking about plants.
Yeah, flowers.
Oh, okay.
So they're the tall.
Surprise lilies.
Surprise lilies. Yeah, is another name for them. My great grandfather had called them naked ladies and laughed.
Hilarious.
They usually bloom for my brother's birthday, which is not yet. I mean, that's 3 weeks from now, and they have already bloomed. So
You hear it right here on the waffle. Emma's
you
gonna
heard
be
it.
in early
I
fall.
think it's going to be kind of early fall, which would be great because
Can I hold you to this? How can we hold you to
no,
this?
you can't. That's just
We're gonna
my.
dock your pay.
I mean, I'm a farmer. I'm used to being wrong. So, but 30-ish days till fall harvest shop at the outpost. You know, and if we did not melt into a puddle in September, that would be
Then
great.
you're not fall shopping. If you're not at a fall event,
Sweating to
with
death.
some sort of flannel reminiscent on your body somewhere, sweating to death, like shaking a hot beverage because you're melting, then it's not fall in the Ozarks.
In fact, I'm scheduled for next month, and I thought, September 1st, flannel. We should dress in flannel next month.
100% should.
So I got to tell you while you're here, I made one mistake on my garden this year.
Okay.
This is year 2. I learned a lot last year. I had great success last year, but I learned
Okay.
a lot, right? So this year I added more, whatever. Rookie mistake. I planted pole beans instead of bush beans.
What's a pole bean?
Right, so you want to,
a
it's
little
like a vine
different.
that
You need a
the
pole.
green beans
Yeah, you
grow
gotta
up a
have a
pole or whatever.
pole.
Okay.
So I thought it was going to be a colossal disaster.
Right.
Right, but it turned out great because they were planted right next to my corn.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
So-
totally Indianed it up.
I did. It was great. So
Not
I ended
only
up-
is he going Fu Manchu or
That's
whatever the word
Three
he's
Sisters.
going
what's
Native
the other thing you
American.
plant with that? Corn and pole beans and something
Squash.
else. Squash.
Squash, yeah.
Yeah.
your
Well,
Three
I had
Sisters.
watermelon next to it, so that worked too.
All right.
So anyway, so I really harvested the sweet corn. I was worried it was going to stifle the sweet corn, and it did a little bit. So I didn't get as much as I probably should have, but it was really delicious. But about time I was done with the sweet corn, the pole beans took off, and I'm
Right.
still just I'm up to my ears in beans. It's amazing.
Yeah, I taught the girls to snap beans over the weekend.
Yeah.
So I gave them
Yeah.
a bag of
So
green
many
beans.
good memories with
It
the
was fun.
snapping
We
beans.
have way
Yeah.
too many beans, green beans as well.
Oh,
They went
bless
nuts.
you.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I got
Good.
one older kid that likes to complain while she snaps them, so just bring me some and I'll make her
okay.
snap 'em.
There you go. I love it.
I don't remember. Of course, I didn't love it back then, but it's one of those things you'd love to hear a loved one's voice again, or sit down with them in the
Absolutely.
chair. Oh, I would love to snap
Snap
beans with my
your
granny,
grandparents. That's me, my granny,
I
and,
would
and
snap
snapping
with
beans, 100%.
and I would
Yep.
love to snap with my cousin. I've got younger cousins, and one of them she particularly would sit in the chair and do it. She would just break them in half, just once.
She's like, I snapped them.
That's a snap.
them. It's like,
But
We'll call that good.
And it wasn't that she was like 6. She's like, I did, that's what
Look,
she thought.
snap.
So the other thing I didn't understand was how far out the watermelon would take off. It's taken over my backyard,
It's a thing.
and it has
yeah.
made its way into my tomato trellis.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a small melon hanging from the vine.
That's
So
supposed to be good for him sometimes.
Is it?
Yeah.
because so I was thinking about building up and then putting it in a box so it'd become a square melon. I was going to build a platform for it and put it in a
Clever.
box. And
If
let
you
it
want to do
become-
something really risque, you need to find you some pantyhose and suspend it so it doesn't pull on the vine so hard.
Oh.
This
Oh.
is why Emma's here.
Yeah.
There's
had-
a nugget for you.
We don't have any pantyhose. And who wears pantyhose anymore?
I was about to say
No.
you could probably find them at Dollar General.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I don't know if I
don't
haven't tried to
think-
buy any in a long time.
I remember as a kid at Walmart. the
Maybe they'll come
pantyhose that were
back.
in the egg-shaped thing.
Why? Why were they like that?
Why? I don't know. So weird.
Yeah, I remember those little
They
egg
were
shaped
called legs
legs.
They were.
That was the brand.
Yeah.
Like Pert.
by Bert.
Pert.
Pert
Not a
and
sponsor,
legs.
So,
but forever in our hearts.
so you've been killing it in the garden.
Killing it.
It's all over the board. I mean, it's been a good year, right? But I know granny types that are struggling with their tomatoes.
Oh, my tomatoes are just
I
unreal.
know
every 2 days. I'm
Allard's garden.
Ballard's living right, okay?
have,
So
every
the rest
variety.
of us
A lot
can
of
just.
all
basil.
4 varieties are just taking.
We have a large
You've
basil
got
crop.
a basil crop. You got a tomato,
tomato crop,
crop.
yeah.
Together,
Yeah.
you've got sauce.
I have cucumbers.
We can make
Ooh, I don't
crazy
do
salad.
Raised.
Yeah, and they're good. I don't know what variety they were. I took them home from the outpost, but they're small. so they're more skinny and they don't get really long, and we like them that way. I get about one every day.
I got a report
Do you,
that our
do you happen
blackberry
to
bushes
dill
do well.
those and make pickles?
I do
Blackberry
not.
circuit?
No pickles.
No,
my wife.
no dill pickles out of that?
No, we don't eat a lot of
Looking
pickles
good.
at home.
Blackberries are going crazy. Okay.
Lauren, she's not going to be bringing me dill pickles out of her
No
cucumber.
pickles.
so-
No, I don't do the
I
pickling.
think she should.
My mom.
Surprise you.
Now, have
Sweet pickles.
you gardened
So
anything?
good.
I don't vegetable garden. I have
Well,
some
but
herbs.
you herb and
I
do you put them
grow-
up? Do you like freeze them?
Herbs?
Yeah.
I dry them.
Okay.
What I do is I take my sage and my mint and I wash it and I dry it in the oven and then I grind it up and I use it all year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I do with cilantro. I use a lot of cilantro and then I let it go to seed and then that's my primary source of coriander throughout
Coriander.
the year.
Yeah, we've
'Cause
got we've got coriander.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
so-
coriander.
I had no idea that that's how that works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the seeds you pluck them off, and I got a lot of coriander coming. It looks like bumper crop of coriander. It's a big deal. And so I just pulled them off and make sure they're dry and like dust them off, and then before I use coriander, which I use in a lot of stuff, because anything that has cumin in it, you should probably use coriander in it. And I grind it in a mortar and pestle.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if I needed to survive off my garden, would it go well? No, but it'd be flavorful.
It would be.
That's all I got going.
Be tasty.
But I think if we combine all of our superpowers,
Yeah.
Yes.
we'd probably have
We
something
would have
going
one
on.
meal.
We would have a meal.
It reminds me of there was this little meme that went around Facebook, and the young city kids have interesting ideas, and they're like, what if like we all grew a different crop, and then we could just like trade, and then it would be like we could all eat for free, and we're all like, congratulations, you invented capitalism. Good job. Good job with that.
Oh man.
It's an experiment.
Love it.
We've got this crazy idea.
How this would work.
We're all going to develop different products and services and trade.
Speaking of that, speaking of capitalism,
Brilliant.
it seems like there's something going on today.
Yeah, not to mention
happening today?
the elephant in the room. No,
I don't have my little
no,
sticker.
No,
Rub
why
it on.
not?
Sticker. I haven't been yet.
Haven't
Me
been yet.
neither. I
Maybe
wanted to go to
after
wear my
Neither.
sticker. Please go vote.
Yep.
Please go vote.
No. Can I back it up? Inform yourself and then go vote.
Good, yeah.
That'd be fine too. But at this
People
point,
just like, oh, who should I vote for?
I suppose we could take care of that right now. We'll inform you
We'll
right now.
inform you of the things. Well, I think
so
we're-
I want to give a shout out to our friend, colleague, and loved one, family member, JR.
okay.
JR
saw
in
his
gonna
post.
What's he
last
running
night.
for?
JR, in my opinion, has won the internet
Yay.
with making a suggestion towards
Yeah.
the election without being tacky.
Yeah.
I read 4 posts yesterday of this is exactly, they all said the same thing. Everybody's been asking me what I think, so here's my list. And then they list out these people. And it's what help me divide this, okay? Yes, you should be proud to vote for a candidate. I am very excited to vote for a couple of candidates today,
Sure.
and I would love to tell you about them.
I
However,
asked you. Yep.
we've done that in a private fashion,
Yes.
not a open forum,
Yep.
versus here I am making my list, and now you sound really tacky. My least favorite was the politician who made his list, and then it was being shared. I'm like, if you're going to ask somebody, I wouldn't ask a politician.
Interesting.
Well, I told Shelby last night, I said, well, I voted about 7 times today because, people message me.
Oh yeah. So
Well,
who do I vote for?
Yeah.
Like, well, who do I vote for? And so I tell them what I think because they ask me.
I think
Yeah.
that is a valid form of
Sure.
being informed,
Sure.
because we
You
don't.
can't know everybody.
Yeah, we don't have the time. Some of us just don't have the research skills.
Well, and Emma, you're one of the more informed, politically involved, non-elected official that I know.
Well, thanks.
Like you are, and I don't know if people know that about you. If they thought about it much based off the things you post, they would probably see that
Oh.
you're involved.
I'm voting again right now.
There you go.
2 more people.
Tell them
3 more
for
people.
Kermit the Frog.
Oh, I'd so vote for
Well,
Kermit.
yeah. So I mean, I printed off. Well, I didn't print off. I brought up the online, just the sample ballot,
Yeah.
and just made sure before I went in that there wasn't going to be a surprise. Like, oh, I didn't know about this person
happened
or
to me.
about that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really important that everybody take the time to do that before you just go to the
Yeah.
poll. And if you didn't take time, it's okay to leave one
Leave one
blank.
blank.
Yeah, you don't have to
I've done
vote
that.
on that issue. Don't vote uninformed. Make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think people are afraid to leave one blank.
Give
You
some
can
thought
do
to it.
that.
Yeah.
You absolutely can do that. I mean, unless there's an election official that's going to tell me otherwise, I don't think it would. Why would it like disregard your ballot or whatever?
It doesn't.
It
It
doesn't.
doesn't. So yeah, you can do that.
I just voted 3 times just now.
That was quick.
So we kind of talked about not electioneering here during this waffle episode so that we would not become tacky. But there are 2 constitutional issues on the ballot.
I'm willing to discuss those.
Me too.
on
And
air
I think
publicly.
Will has a really good thing to say
Will.
about
Like
the
this.
Well, even
constitutional
if
things.
what's proposed in a constitutional amendment is a good idea in Missouri, I will tend to just vote no, just because it's really stupid to amend your constitution for random things. You should amend your constitution over things that require a constitutional amendment, not because our political process is a little screwed up in Missouri such that it tends to be easier to get some topics through the constitutional amendment process rather than the legislative process where they belong. So people decide to go and propose constitutional amendments because they think they have a better chance of it winning, not because the Constitution should or needs to be amended to accomplish the goal.
Don't like it.
So
It's not good.
I'm voting no
So
on all of them.
I
Plus, I don't think they're good ideas.
I also
No, I don't
think
think they're
no is an appropriate answer. No is an appropriate answer on an issue question if you are not informed. No is always
Interesting.
It's
No
your
is-
default.
yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Like if
no
you
is
don't know.
if you don't know, if you're uninformed, or if you're not really if you're not convinced that it's a good idea, no is an okay answer.
Well, and I've seen a lot of concern, and I posted about this on the residents page last night. I'm seeing a lot of concerning comments where it's pretty clear people don't really understand how this works, where they take like the fire department, the city of Rogersville, the school, and they, in their mind, the budgets of those are somehow blurred together. And maybe I'm interpreting people's comments wrong, but like you can't take a criticism of the fire department, the splash pad, and a football field and tie them up in the same comment because
Right.
that's not
And I know where
that's not how
yeah.
this works.
I think
I know where that comes from.
Yeah,
It's
I think
just,
I
I hate
see what
taxes
they're
in general.
I think I
and-
see what they're feeling.
Yeah, I can feel that.
But it is an
And yet-
uninformed approach.
But it is an uninformed approach. And in fact, I had someone directly message me recently that said, I'm thinking I'm going to start going to city meetings. You know, I think that they're doing this, and I think they've spent too much money on this at the school. And I'm like, pump the brakes. Those are not combined. Those budgets are different.
Perhaps
And
not,
they're
but you
like,
should have.
They are.
You should have said yes. You should go.
Well,
Yeah.
and here, guys, but it's not.
But don't show up in arms.
Yeah,
show
no.
up.
Show up to listen.
Informed and ready to listen and be informed more.
But if you've not been part of the process, how would you know that?
Right.
How would you understand that the city of Rogersville's income primarily comes from sales tax revenue?
Well, how would you know,
How would
right?
you know that?
So here's an interesting segue to a topic that is related yet not telling you what to think. So I have been intrigued by the messaging strategies of this year's candidates.
Okay.
Have we not seen some very colorful and interesting commercials on the
Oh, yes,
TV?
yeah. Well, I've not seen many of them because I don't hardly watch TV,
right.
but
Well,
holy guacamole.
I haven't
it
seen
should
any of
all
them 'cause I don't watch
it
TV.
should almost become like the Super Bowl, okay? You guys should
Yeah.
see some of this stuff that they're turning out. Now, when I saw that, was I personally offended? Did I have to go into the closet to cry? No. But I looked at
I
that.
just can't work today. I'm just too
I'm just
emotional.
And I thought,
so triggered.
what an interesting approach. He should not have done that.
You're going to have to tell me what that's all about.
Even if, well, so JR alluded to it. We've had candidates shooting large guns. We've had flamethrowers. There was some foreign language involved.
That is not.
And it
Oh, I
was
heard
just,
that one. I was like,
it was not
"Is that
used
really-
appropriately
is that
at
really
all.
How you wanna-"
That is not okay.
It was not used appropriately at all. And that's not, every-
I'm glad. I'm not.
Did
I
you-
thought the same thing. I
did
was
you
like,
notice that this
"Ugh."
week everyone has been photoshopped into a photograph with President Trump?
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know-
I just
Are you all
drove-
getting texts?
I just-
Are you getting political
Oh, I'm
texts?
getting texts. I'm getting
Yes, they
I just
called
drove by
yesterday.
a political
Driving
sign that
me
said
nuts.
Trump's lawyer on it, and I was like, "What? Like,
Maybe
when
for a
does it
day
Trump's
once.
lawyer. Like,
So-
what?
Kudos to these
Yes,
people
Ann.
for their outgoing messaging. I'm not saying I entirely disagreed with their messaging. I disagreed with their delivery. week.
I think that my political strategy, were I to ever run, is I will find someone to create a super PAC, and they will text messages to all of the prospective voters in my primary on behalf of my opponent.
Now I think you'll win.
And I think I'll win.
Yeah.
'Cause I think it
There
would
you
just-
go. You heard it here first.
Just irritate the electorate
there-
so bad, and they'll think, I'm not voting, because it's like me. I'm not voting for them.
I
You
don't-
have annoyed the crap out of me with your text
Yeah.
messaging.
Yeah.
So I may not vote.
The problem is they're all doing it.
They're all doing it.
So
Yes.
my concern is they made these very creative, crafty, somewhat inappropriate messages,
Yes.
and they would appeal maybe to the audiences of this age.
Well, but
but
that's
do
the
those
problem.
people vote?
Look at
Do they know where to vote? Are they registered to vote?
Those are not geared towards youngins. Those are geared
Well-
towards, like,
I'm not sure who it's geared towards, but it's not me
Yeah.
who has my voter card,
trying to
and
think
I'm on
how
my
to
way to
put
vote.
this without being a jerk.
I still don't know who you're talking about or the ads
It's
you're talking
it's
about.
it's multiple, and I
Yep.
mean it's pretty. And I mean,
Well, I think that the devolution of our political process is summed up by the current Kamala Harris strategy. I'm a brat, they're weird,
Oh my
and I have no
gosh.
platform. I mean, that's it. That's the entire political strategy. That's just out there, isn't it? I mean, you look at her website, it is devoid of position statements.
well, and I think
No, and yeah, she refuses to actually.
She's never done
She has none.
hasn't done a press conference. We have no idea. I mean, other than the plethora of information
Yeah.
where she has talked about what all of her
Yeah.
wacko positions are
Right.
in history.
Yeah, that's-
since she's been the nominee, she's not
Yeah,
told
for-
anybody
for
anything
me, the
other than
polit-
I'm a brat and they're weird.
The political process should rest on both sides or both candidates or multiple candidates, whatever, very clearly stating their agenda, their desires, here's their
Yeah.
platform.
That's it.
How in the world do we vote for somebody when we don't know what it is they desire to do? I mean,
Well-
how do we compare?
Well, I think the trick is there. We know what she wants to do. She's just not ever going to say it
And
from this point
yeah.
forward.
Is this not
because it's
some
not palatable?
world history repeating itself where they're not really sharing what they think
we
because
know what Trump thinks.
You know.
We know what he's going to
he has
do.
lots
what do
of
you-
things that he thinks.
And the
You
interesting
know.
thing about him is he told us when he ran in 2016 what he was going to do, and then he did it. And
Which
he's
is
the only
what-
politician
which
we've
is what
ever
really
had
made
that has
everybody
said what
mad.
he was going to do, and then did it. What he said he was going to do.
Well, I mean, it's like it's still though it's gotten so tacky that it's off-putting. And I mean, Trump is the king of he's tacky.
pretty tacky
He's
and
a
off-putting.
tacky fella. and
Yeah.
but I'm not saying I think Kamala's tacky too, just for the same reasons that you're talking about. You know, the whole "I'm a brat and you should like me" or "I'm with her." Barf. Like I'm just like, what?
We need one of those
But
sound effects. Barf.
But I'm just like, how did we get here? And I keep replaying in my head when I was a kid watching like America's Funniest Home Videos, and it showed obviously like Congress, Parliament, something in a foreign country, and they literally got into
brawl.
like a brawl.
Yeah.
And I thought, what an idiot. Like, what a dumb country. How could your elected officials be so ridiculous and stupid? Our elected officials are like respectable individuals. And here we are.
A few.
Like, that's
Some of
how
them
I,
are.
that's how I feel.
And here we are.
And we are now throwing shoes in Congress. Like, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, here's a gross little bit of information for you. So I've recently filled out FAFSA forms for my kids. You know that whole racket,
Make the barf sound again.
right? It is gross. So I get emails then from studentaid.gov, whatever, and they are politically motivated.
Insane.
And it is trying to push a certain party's agenda
Which is
to get votes from that
Insane.
wildly
that
illegal.
demographic, right? But
I would think so.
they're doing it. They're doing it,
Hopefully
saying
they are.
essentially we want to eliminate your student debt or we want to reduce your student debt, and it's
Insane.
very
How about they
much
attach a
leveraging
Christian message to one of those and get that word out there? That'd be great.
Yeah,
Can we
would
do
be
that too?
anything but that.
How did we get here? We are not. And again, the political ads have gotten crazy, and the just the lack. And honestly, the insane political ads are just as crazy as a person sitting there talking about how cool they are and giving no substance to what they want to do. This is crazy.
You don't have to give substance anymore because
It's about writing
the audience,
emotion, not information.
well, you do have to use the emotion, but a lot of it is just based on they don't critically think about the message anymore.
Maybe we
No.
have a lot of people voting that shouldn't be voting.
I just got a political ad. Wah, wah, wah.
well, I don't know. I mean, who shouldn't be voting?
Everybody should be
Anybody
voting.
under 30?
No. No.
All
I mean,
right.
I understand.
You're gonna go extreme
hold
the other
on,
way, huh?
Stop. What Will is saying is that until you're 30, you haven't lived enough life to really understand the process and
with
what's
that.
happening. No, a lot
Well,
of
I
kids,
mean,
they're not informed. They haven't figured the
Figured out-
world
well,
out.
Well, go back to where we started. I mean, when the Darren Chappell says one of the really interesting things, he's like, because we talked one time about having a constitutional convention, he's like, you know what? I'm kind of opposed to that because when the guys that wrote our original Constitution, they were bona fide geniuses, and we're fresh out of those people these days. And I think there's some
Yeah.
wisdom to that.
I agree.
Particularly because of the fact those people were geniuses, and they wrote an outstanding document that had very few flaws. It wasn't perfect, but it had some flaws.
But it gave allowance for their flaws.
It did, and here's the thing. Almost everything we have done since then, amendment-wise, has made it worse. It's not made it better.
Right.
We lowered the voting age to 18. It didn't used to be there.
What was it originally?
No, I don't remember. It was at least 21.
Yeah.
You used to have to own land where you were voting to vote because they didn't want transients coming in and people coming into a place and voting and then moving out and all that stuff. You had to be invested in the community where you were voting how it should be run. I think that's brilliant. I love that because one of the problems we have is you've got this influx of college students that aren't traditionally old enough to vote, will move into an area like Springfield, vote there, and then move. And it drastically affects the demographics of the town. It screws up the federal system where you've got this state gets to have laws this way because it's the way the people there like it. You can have a different state that has laws that way because that's the way they like it. That's how our country's designed. And our entire country since then has been marching towards this homogenous, no, we're all going to be
Right.
the same, controlled by dictators in Washington, D.C. And it's a
Yeah.
huge problem.
No, it is. It is.
Well, I'm not sure how many college students are voting in local Springfield elections. They may be voting in presidential elections,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many they're actually swaying the vote.
Well, and maybe not Springfield voters, but
Well, but
in
even
other
that,
places
yeah.
If
where
they're from out
larger.
of state, that
Yeah.
screws the electoral.
We reminded our boys, you're
Yeah.
turning. Well, they just moved to Kansas City last week, so like, hey, you have to either get an absentee ballot, or you need to drive home to vote.
yeah.
But those are
Good for you.
conversations that we have with our kids to remind them. I would say this: my boys turn 21 tomorrow. I want them voting. And I don't want them voting because they're going to vote the way that I vote. I want them voting because they're thoughtful young men with opinions, and they think about such things. I don't know that that's true of all 21-year-olds, but
No, it's not.
I would say this: I'm at 18. Maybe I think of that differently. They probably thought more how I told them to think. They were forming at 18 still, but at 21 they're very strong, independent young men who, I want them to be a part of the political process.
I can understand both sides. I think a parallel, very shocking statement, just to make it starkly clear what Will is suggesting, is that if we were to say 12-year-olds should not be parents because they don't get it, right?
Yeah.
They don't. So sometimes young voters don't get it. But we want them to learn by example, which you have obviously set a good example in your household. I used to take my kids to vote. Did anybody used to vote? Did you vote when you were little? Because you used to. It was the pokey.
I was all
And
up in
the
all
and
that.
the
practice
little
machine.
and the
Yep.
little lady would say, "Okay, while your mom votes, come over here and you
Yep.
vote." Oh,
I
I
did
love that card so much. Anyway, so I would take them with me just for that purpose, right? So I asked them today if they wanted to go to the polls with me, and they said, "Well, we can't vote right now." So no, but they're old enough to make that distinction,
Yeah.
But they know that we're gonna go. They're gonna
Yeah.
see us go. So you got to lay that foundation.
I don't know. We're at an interesting turning point, and I don't know where things are headed. The conversation I've had over and over and over again recently is I'm not so sure I know where things are going to be in 10 years. And that's unnerving because this is the first time in my life that I've felt that way. Like,
But I don't think
I
you're.
just don't know where things are going to be in 10 years.
I don't think you're the first person to have that thought.
No, I don't think so either.
Like,
It's-
I mean, it's weird for you because you're having to have that thought. But like, Will, your folks, do you think at any time in the past, you know, in your lifetime, they've ever thought to themselves, well, we just don't know where things will be in 10 years?
Oh, I think we always know where we're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think to Emma's point, I think every generation, kind of in that 30, 40,
It's not new.
50 range, there's
It's
this,
still scary.
oh gosh, what has this world become?
Well, I
so
think-
that's not new.
I think what's interesting is, you know, there are things that you grew up with that you sort of assume that that's the way things have always been.
Yeah.
And I think the older I get, the other reason I go, wait a minute, 50 years before I was born, the things that I thought were always there weren't there.
Weren't, right.
And I was thinking
Yeah.
about some interesting things, like, this is just some weird thoughts came to mind. Like, you know, people used to retire and they would give them a gold watch.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen now. You know, that was probably
Nobody
a-
stays
Nobody
anywhere
can
longer than a
Right,
year.
but that
Nobody
was
can even
probably,
retire
honestly, a tiny sliver. I mean, they didn't do that in the 1800s.
Right.
No?
They didn't do that in the 1920s.
Right.
They did that from 1950 to 1980. For 30 years, but it felt like this is what we do. This is the tradition that we
Right.
live in. And I think that traditions, what we see as traditions, are actually so short-lived. It's really not what
a
we
good
think
point.
it is.
Well,
You know?
that's our vision of time. Like, if you think backwards, 30 years can feel like a long period of time.
Well, 50 years before I was born, because I'm 53, was the 1920s.
Yeah.
So that seems like ancient history, but that's how far back it is from now to the 70s.
I think
I remember the 70s.
I think the big difference, though, historically, is technology moved at a pace where these big changes were more gradual and spanned longer
The
time.
difference between
Yeah.
1776 and 1876 was not that significant.
Yes.
From 1876 to 1976 was huge, and just
Yeah.
imagine from 1976 to 2000.
That's the point. that
It's
I'm
like a
making.
10x. Like
Yeah,
now, it
yes.
multiplies
Exponential.
so much faster
Yeah.
year over year rather than like decade over decade.
And that's where I'm like, whoa, we got to be real careful with what we're doing right now because things move in a rapid pace now.
It's almost
Well,
like
the
we
problem,
have
I
too
think,
much.
with the rapid pace, circling back to voting, is people do not have the time, patience, or attention span to devote the time needed, not just to what's on the table, but what the underlying theories of how economics work, how politics work, how societies work, to understand if that's even a good idea or not, even if it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
People lay out good sounding arguments that are absolute crap when you understand some basic principles about economics that nobody ever takes the time to understand these days.
No, they don't.
And that ultimately is
So I didn't want to rewrite JR's post. You know, I was feeling kind of bummy because I'm like, oh, JR said it first. What else? What else could I possibly say that would be appropriate and edifying? And so what I ended up coming up with, if you are not my friend or did not see my Facebook story, is please go vote, but remember that the choices you're making are going to affect our kiddos. And I had my nice little picture of the kids there.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a couple of things that just come to mind. One thing that has come to mind recently, and it doesn't have anything to do really with politics, but you know, we have this thing that we've all been taught in school that apparently many, many scientists posit and hold as true, which is macroevolution. It's laughable. It's absolutely ridiculous, the theory of macroevolution. And yet you have so many people that hold to it like they think it's true. And I mean, you think about it from any rational perspective, it's absolute ludicrous to believe that anything happened. Because first of all, these people are generally non-religious. They're like, we believe in science. Well, everybody that believes in macroevolution, Big Bang Theory, believes in two miracles. One,
Oh, yeah.
that life came from non-life,
Yeah.
and that something came from nothing. Those are miracles by
Yeah.
any standard. Well, if you believe in
Yes.
miracles, why is it so hard to believe that there's a creator when the evidence would demonstrate there's a creator?
Well-
Second of all, we have one-cell creatures,
yeah.
single-celled, whatever, form of life. There are no two-celled forms of life. There are no three-celled forms of life. So how did we get from a one-cell creature, how do we evolve to a multiple-cell creature? There's no intervening creatures to get that. Plus, just the idea of somehow, somewhere, a mouth formed.
Yeah.
It didn't form like one tooth.
Yep.
A whole mouth had to form all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ludicrous to believe in macroevolution.
That's why you see very few physicists are atheists.
Yeah. Is
The
that true?
majority of them are, yes.
I didn't know
Majority of
that.
them are Christians and at the very least agnostic.
Yeah.
They'll all confess there is clearly an intelligent designer here,
mean-
even if they're not willing to put a
And
name
what
to
is
it.
every science book and our biology book in our schools teaching? Macroevolution.
Yep.
Why are we
But,
destroying our
The
children?
leading
what I'm
physicists
seeing.
today are believers, or like I said, at the very least, they're open to the idea that they just don't know who the God is.
It's not
but there
even
has to be one.
debating. It's not even worth debating. It's mockable, the belief in macroevolution.
Here's what bothers me, and this has been so readily apparent the past week with the memes and stories that have been shared about the Olympics. Two very distinct sides have been, I'm going to say created, because they've been encouraged and manipulated by both parties of the media that say, you need to think this way about this, and this, and you need to think this way about this, and this. You're either a Christian that is conservative, that believes in traditional gender roles, or you're a person that's angry at Christian who supports LGBTQ plus, and you're sorry, it's too much, and so here we have these very two defined loud, and I'm gonna say they're the loudest because a lot of the people who are not in these two boxes are not loud right now. They're just like simmering under the surface, and they're getting really irritated. And I'm one of those people because I'm like, you're sharing a lot of misinformation. And the perfect example of this is the most benign thing. It's the Turkish shooter. Have you seen this guy?
I've seen
That dude-
I've seen a little.
A satire post was made about him. It wasn't real. It was completely fake. It was a satire post. It got shared.
As if
People believed it. They believed he didn't start shooting because of a funky divorce situation with his wife. He's like a trained military person. And I'm like, people, stop sharing this crap.
I didn't see any of.
I know
Have you
that
not seen the Turkish shooter?
Well,
I
saw the
know this
picture of
is
him
new
looking like-
information,
Just chill.
Just
Yeah.
chill. That was cool. That's all I saw.
but
yeah.
not everything on the internet's true.
My God,
What?
it's not.
Oh my gosh!
What?
Well-
Smart people are sharing
invited
stuff
her on
that's
this
not
show?
true.
Here's the thing, and I don't.
Everything we say is accurate.
It is.
This show.
It's all fact checked.
It's science.
Science.
Two
Trust the
thoughts.
science.
One is
Science of community.
The
One
waffle
particular
science.
source. It's called America's Last Line of Defense, and I see a lot of people sharing stuff from America's Last Line of Defense. Which, if you drill down and go to their website and look, it is a satire page. It's like the Babylon Bee.
It's
And
scary.
but the Babylon Bee, when you see their headlines,
You know.
You know.
You better
no,
know.
it's
Yeah.
satire. Even
Yeah.
if you didn't know who the Babylon Bee was, you'd read that and go, "Oh, that's funny." Their stuff looks real, and so I see a lot of people sharing it. And I usually go, "Hey, you might want to look at that.
It's
That's a
not
satire
real.
site. It's not real." But the freedom lover in me says they should be allowed to do that. That's freedom of speech, and people should be smart enough to fact check stuff. That's where I think is where we need to land. Now, the other thing that you mentioned that I think is interesting. Oh, I lost my connection. I may not be able to end the show. We may just go on forever. today.
The
Is
infinite
that
show.
on the boxer
This is the
issue?
show
First of
that
all,
doesn't end.
it feels like a setup because all the information that you saw for the first 24, 48 hours was that's a guy boxing, and then it wasn't for 48 hours later. It was much later that they were like, oh no, this person
It's a medical.
was born female. We've always thought female. We just now discovered that she's got this XY chromosome. Okay, well, it seems like in our information age, we could have got that information out a lot quicker if that was, even got ahead of that story. We could have got ahead of it. Now, here's the thing. I got to roll back a little bit. If it wasn't for transgender athletes to begin with, that wouldn't even been a story.
And that's
It
true.
wouldn't have even been an issue.
My
So
whole
the
thing is
fault
like-
lies with the transgender activism because that's what created that controversy. If that transgender activism didn't exist, we'd
Nobody
have never
would've
had that.
noticed.
We'd have never had that issue.
But
it
at the
wouldn't
same
happen.
time, you got to be responsible about what you share. Like,
But I would say this on that scenario because I shared some of that and I took it down.
so many people
because
did.
because it's coming from where it originally came from, that this was a man,
I
was
saw it from
legitimate news articles.
Yes.
Legitimate news stories. Like, you're getting that from where you would normally get factual information.
It's the most bizarre, because the first time I saw it shared, I immediately searched the individual and found news stories that were saying the same thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, and here's what we've done, though. We've taken a person who's supposed to be doing the most important, great thing of their life, and we've attacked them as a society viciously.
Now,
How the heck would you feel?
Yeah, here's what I don't know. I don't know, but if this person really has an XY chromosome, maybe they shouldn't be boxing as a woman.
But the whole thing
Because
is,
it clearly has given them an advantage.
we don't know. That is such a weird, isolated situation that we have taken and catapulted it into everybody's everyday life. Mike, these are real humans. Like, you're sharing stories about real humans.
And
We wonder why suicide rates are going
Well-
up.
they are
and to Will's
celebrities.
point,
They have
though,
put
it is
themselves in the position to be talked about publicly.
But that's true.
Sure.
But
Yep.
to
But they're
your
still
point, though,
humans.
there are rare cases, but we've taken the rare cases and tried to make it. No, this is happening all over. All
Right.
kinds of people are
Well,
transgender.
more
and
stuff happens than
And that's not true.
That's not true.
I mean,
Science, right?
now we just have the capability of getting that information. People, whether they're made up stories or not, have the capability of sharing them like wildfire.
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
and creating this buzz. You know, I kind of use the filter of if I see it and I haven't seen a lot of it, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
We saw a
it's
lot of
like,
that, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I just
I responded to the Nigerian prince once, but I'm not going to do it again. You know, like I learned my lesson.
Well, and then, but then the social
He's just trying to get your zip code to send that check, Chris. If you want to answer.
I waited and I waited and I waited, and then I found out, oh, they're actually taking money out of my account.
Yeah.
So, you know, fool me once, shame on you.
But the social
Only
media
twice.
platforms have now created ways to verify these accounts. Well, the other day I looked at an account that had a blue check
Yeah,
mark.
verified.
It was a completely bullcrap account
Mm-hmm.
sharing something that was basically political. That was obviously, you know, they were also sharing pictures of cute animals. Well, sharing pictures of cute animals gets shares, which gets you ultimately a blue check mark.
yeah.
So we're trying to say that these are valid, and they're not even the valid ones are valid.
as a society, we should be more careful. We have become not careful because we are overloaded with information. So
Yes.
we're just slinging it like one might sling noodles up against the
This
wall.
proves my point. Here you go. This proves my point.
Yeah,
This proves
so
my point.
just be careful, you know, and watch real stuff like the waffle.
Well, I
Yeah.
would,
And
I would,
real
I'd like to
people.
quote my good friend
Science.
And
James.
you're real.
I totally agree.
My good friend James, who says, you know, be slow to speak,
Yes.
be slow to anger, but be quick to listen.
Yep.
I love that
Well,
guy.
I just have one piece of advice, which is stop voting for Democrats, and that'll pretty well fix
I've
everything.
never heard
But
you say
go
that.
Wow.
vote and say hi to Beth when you get there. Everybody say hi, Beth.
That's why
Hi,
Beth's
Beth.
not on.
Yeah.
Right.
Beth's not on.
She'll listen back.
I'll
All
go
right.
tell her about it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week. We hope.